One mind, certainly is so. And this, so I'm saying that ultimate, yes, many philosophies have said God is mind. Christian Science uses this as one of its synonyms for God. And so does religious science, and so does divine science, and so does Taoism, and so does Buddhism, and probably half a dozen others use this analogy of mind in God.
Is the material world then merely a different rate of vibration from other types of existence, or is it a figment of mind? I don't quite get that clear in your concept.
Well, I touched on it and apparently did make it clear, but what we see as the finite world are the qualities and attributes of isness. Not isness itself, but its qualities and attributes. They are the myriad qualities and attributes in their infinity of combinations. For example, if you could consider yourself the grand principle of arithmetic, okay, and so then you would look on, you say, okay, I am addition. Well, now, you would know specifically what addition is. That is, you would see it as infinite intelligence, as this principle. You would have to see it tangibly. Because what is tangible appearing but that which we know to be? All science is concerned with the measuring and the weighing and the analysis of. This is what science is, a concern with the objects, the images of perception. So, therefore, what we call the material universe is, or are, those things are, the qualities and attributes of isness. And they appear as form. And the reason they appear as form is, if you want me to, I can even go into that, but go take the little illustration of the rubber ball. The rubber ball, looking at itself, would say to itself, I am round. Well, how does round appear? It appears as not square, as not oblong, as not a million other things, but round. But the tennis ball, being infinitely intelligent, also knows what that is it is not. That it is, in order to perceive form, as form is, we see the sundry contradistinctions that are involved. For example, how do you know that this is a hand when you hold a hand up? That is, just humanly speaking, how does one know this is a hand? Because you've been taught it, or what? No, you know it's a hand. That is without doubt or equivocation, because you know, and you can go through all of the is-nots. It is not a foot, it is not an ear, it is not an elbow, and it is not thus and so, but this leaves is a hand. And this is, of course, one of the reasons, and this is all mathematically provable, any of you mathematicians, but this is why form appears, why there is the perception of form, and why form is only concerned with tangibles, or with what we call finiteness. For example, using the rubber ball would look out and say, well, I'm round, but round is not all there is to rubber ball, because rubber ball is also hollow and bouncy and gray or something else. So therefore round is only one of myriad qualities and attributes, so therefore it must appear in form, less than infinite, that is, less than eternally infinite, without form and void. So it appears with form and void. Consequently, the qualities and attributes of isness appear to us as trees and rocks and bugs, and the infinity that awareness is appears tangibly as a lot of people. Awareness aware microscopically and so forth. I realize maybe I've gotten kind of deep and profound, but let me just come back to tell you that all of this is just infinitely simple. It is simple beyond belief. It is so simple that it's its simplicity that hides it from us. It's extremely profound to the intellect, to the reasoning, calculating mind, because that thing stands as some sort of a guard. The role we play, the ego that we play, lives, moves, and has its being as a fiction that we believe is real, and its only reality is in our playing the game. And we can stop playing it in the twinkling of an eye by granting in very simple honesty that God really is all. That perfection really is perfect. That truth really is true. That reality really is real. And then be honest with it. Can anyone identify as somebody sick, sinful, ailing, filled with guilt, without enough dollars, who can identify in such a way if we are honest with the fact that perfection is all? And we all granted here a little while ago that it seems almost inescapable to see that a perfect single isness is total, alone, and all. So then, who is to say then that things are not as they should be? Great. If anybody just wants to make a statement, whether it's a question or not, it would just be grand. If any of you are perceiving, let me tell you that awareness that right here, right now, is the one you call I, identity, is all there is to infinite intelligence. You need never again identify as somebody that doesn't know. The only thing that doesn't know enough is that ego that starts out in ignorance, sin. But awareness itself is the knowing of mind. What is the function of mind if it isn't to know itself? To be aware. If mind were not aware, it wouldn't be mind. So the function of mind is its own self-awareness. And if it's alone, what can it be aware of except itself? Now you can't separate mind and its awareness and what it knows. They're all one. Can you separate mind? Right now, awareness being aware, can you separate the images within it from awareness? Use a simple illustration. Look at the television picture tube. Can you separate the picture tube from the images that are there on it? No, the images are included within it as it. There's no distance between them. We identify as awareness, and we are the world, the universe. And awareness, what is it? It's the knowing of mind. And what is it? It's mind knowing itself, because it's, so therefore, what is this awareness? Why, it is infinite intelligence itself. What a grand thing to see and perceive, that it really was our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Where does the kingdom appear except in and as this awareness? Here's that. Now, all I can do is tell you folks that to make this simple switch in identification may sound easy, but the intellect, the ego of us, is reluctant to, we hate to give up the good things that we like, that we call good. But just as surely as we learn that numerals are just numerals, none of them bad, we must also see that numerals are just numerals and none of them good. They're just numerals being numerals. So we also must give up the good judgments as well as the bad judgments. And strangely enough, this is even included in the plainest terms in most of our religions of the world. Didn't Jesus make the remark? He said to judge not. I judge no man. He said, judge not lest thou be judged by the same judgment. Okay, the minute you look out at somebody and say that one out there is stupid, what are you doing? You're looking at some aspect of yourself and calling it stupid. You might just as well go and stand in front of the mirror and call yourself stupid. Because what is it? You're looking at an aspect of awareness. And if you're going to identify as one image, the minute you identify as an image, then you can look out and see your images as separate and apart from yourself. But never was this so. Awareness all the time has just been awareness being aware. This very awareness that's hearing these sounds all the time from what we call birth, it has continually been, we have continually lived alone as this single consciousness of being. And never have we been another. And so it's possible then to say, but then the whole arena of human actions and activities, the whole superimposed ridiculous action of good and bad and valuable and not valuable and all of the trials and tribulations of humanity, sort of like a superimposed dream going on. Right at this moment, psychology is beginning to find out that all of us as egos act as though we are half hypnotized continually. We are told in youth that something's good or something's bad, and so we accept it and live it and believe it from that point on. We've been told that this is the way things should be and how you should see something, and so we believe it and we act that way. And that release comes from getting honest. Well, there is one way to do it, and that's to perceive that God, principle, a single principle of being, really is all, really is right here, right now, nowhere else. Being, this very one identity is. And then to the best of our ability, live it. Well, I really mean something very simple. Psychology and philosophy and religion, incidentally, this term has become very popular in the last year. I guess everyone has noticed. Everything, let's increase awareness and let's have a sensitivity session so that we become more aware. Well, how can we become more aware unless we believe ourselves to be one who contains awareness? And what greater way is there to be aware than to identify as awareness itself? Being perfectly aware. Okay, now what we mean by awareness, sir, is this very thing. Well, awareness and life are synonymous terms. Awareness, consciousness are synonymous terms. This very life that right at the moment looks up here and sees one called Bill, that sees room, looks down, sees arms and feet, looks in the mirror and sees thus and so, that remembers what happened in an automobile and thinks about what might transpire in the morning. But all of that, the big ball of wax, somebody said a little while ago, that whole ball of wax, this is what awareness is. Yet awareness is infinitely more. Infinitely more. But in its most limited, narrow, confined, and ridiculous thing, but we can't get rid of it. It boils down to the most limited here concept of a body ricocheting around in an immense universe, and a now that we can't even put a pin in before it's gone. Yet you can't get rid of that now, and you can't get rid of the here. I heard somebody, I got to tell you one thing that you can take away, you know. I'm being facetious now because I'm sure you've heard many things that you are, because it's yourself listening to yourself. But just by way of a joke, I heard, I'll give you a very profound utterance that came from a disc jockey the other day on the radio, and I thought, well, boy, if that isn't a great statement, because it really is. He concluded his program, he says, folks, remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Come here, Greg.
Oh, that's good.
Stop and think about it. And isn't it really always here? It's always really here. There is never a time when awareness does not say here. And the answer is always here. The solution to the problem is here. The perfection, the beauty that we're looking for is here, never anywhere else. And bit by bit, the intellect has to surrender and the heart hears this. But we're saying again, the only thing that's going on right here is awareness being aware. That is, everything you see is included in one place alone, within one single awareness. The very one you call yourself. Right here, right now. And every sound that you've ever heard is included within this awareness that is right here, right now, being aware. Now, when we identify as awareness itself and not some grand custodian that it has been given to, religion and very often teaches that God has bestowed life or awareness on man, has given it as a gift. Never was this so. And such teachings are erroneous and serve no purpose other than we finally live them to see how wrong they are. So I'm not saying that we don't all live such a concept, but the minute we believe that awareness is, that we are the ones who have received awareness, then immediately we are assuming an identity as the receiver, the custodian, the caretaker, the one that has to fend for it and provide for it. And of course it also looks out and sees this infinite awareness from a single point, the receptor point, and has to see its infinity as being a lot of other people out there who have received it also. And so we have a misidentity then. We are laboring under the assumption that we are one who has received life. And by the same token, this concept has us believing that God is a giver of life. So who is this thing that gives life? We've got an idol. We've got something that doesn't even exist. We've got a whole religious and philosophic systems predicated on an assumption that God is some great something that waves or gives life. This is so ridiculous that we would, but so we can let go both. This doesn't change the fact of awareness. It doesn't change the fact of God. As we identify as awareness itself, instead of the receptor of it, the receiver of it, we get rid of an ego that is a few days and full of trouble. We don't get rid of that ego, but we begin to see it for what it is. That is, we begin to see it for the fact that it teaches us many lessons, and that it is the means by which we look out and weigh and measure and see things from a point and so forth. But we also get rid of a God that doesn't exist, but it doesn't get rid of isness, or that which is being, awareness. And as a matter of fact, it allows us to see God as God is, by seeing that God is being. This is the very awareness we are. Consider the television set. And it's just visualize in your mind's eye television set, and it's the only thing in all existence. You see, nothing. There is nothing in all being but a single television set. And its purpose or functioning is its, the tube lighting up, and let's say that the tube is forever lighting up and displaying its integral parts, all that the television set is. Okay? Now, do we have a two-ness when we speak of the television set and its functioning? No. We have oneness. Television set functioning as itself is one television set being complete, total, alone, and all. So when we speak of mind and awareness, we're not speaking of a dualism, a two-ness here. We're talking about isness perceiving itself. And we're identifying as that perceiving going on. And this is not two-ness. The television set functioning is not two but one. Mind perceiving itself is all there is to all that religion has ever indicated to be the Trinity. The Trinity. Called now, as it's been moved through thousands of different changes and ideas and concepts, called the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Isness, that is totality. Knowing or being or perceiving itself is all there is to the Trinity, but those three are one. You cannot separate mind from its functioning awareness, because mind wouldn't be mind if it weren't aware. And yet awareness is not all there is to mind. So Jesus says, when you see me, you've seen the Father. Yet my Father is greater than I. Isness, perceiving. Perceiving isn't all there is to isness. Perceiving can very well say, when you see me, you perceive mine. But it's not me that doeth the works, it's the Father. Perfection is that. So it is that we don't take any credit as a personal thing. We see that the power, the dignity, the totality, the completeness is God. The value is God. And there is no other value. Human values play a purpose. And we don't throw them out the window, but we see them for what they are. And they no longer have this grand thing hanging over us. These are ideas. Now don't think for a minute that it ends with this. It doesn't end with this. These ideas and concepts go on and on. Many things that have been said here will be heard in again and again. There is no external authority. Not the images are the authority. It's that which contains the images within them. The authority is the very one you are. These ideas will go on and expand and develop and grow apace. The art teacher that calls your attention to a new color that you've never seen before, yellow, well, you might walk out of the room and think, well, how grand that was. All of a sudden I'm conscious of another color, the color that's always been here, and yet I haven't seen it, but now I see it. But that's only the beginning, because from that point on, forever and ever and ever, amen, wherever you go, you see yellow, the new color. So the ideas that have bloomed here develop and grow apace, and they're eternal, and they'll never leave you nor forsake you. Okay, thank you very much.